the thundering V8 late model sedans. Many people argue this is the world's premier dirt track category. Left-hand drive, high-tech machines featuring massive horsepower. Today, many of the nation's best have converged on the Lucas Oil Kingaroy Speedway for the 2015 Australian Late Model Championship. Can Brad Blake win yet another national crown, further underlining his status as Australia's greatest? We profile American star Steve Francis, and there's another epic golden moment. Our coverage supported by Late Models Australia in association with Kingaroy Equipment Sales, Late Model Racing Queensland and Speedway Australia. This is Chequered Flag on Fox Sports, celebrating 20 years. Proudly presented by the Australian FIM Speedway Grand Prix, October 24 at Melbourne's Etihad Stadium. Tickets on sale now from Ticketmaster. Thanks for joining us this week on Chequered Flag. Good to have your company on Fox Sports 5, wherever you're watching around Australia, as we welcome you to Lucas Oil Kingaroy Speedway, located at the Kingaroy Showgrounds in Queensland for our highlights package. It is night 2 of the Australian Late Model Sedan Championship. Rod Calhoun back with me for the big left-hand drive cars.
Yeah, love these cars, Dave. Right at the cutting edge of technology as far as sedan racing is concerned. Should be a ripper.
In excess of 150 millimetres of rain fell here just after midday today, and the track curators have had to work overtime. You can see how a lot of the loose surface clay was scraped down beneath the pole line. There's the last 10 years of winners. Brad Blake has been the dominant force, certainly Steve Francis winning 2 of them prior to Brad wrapping up the championship last year when that event was staged at the Mount Gambier Circuit, Borderline Raceway at Mount Gambier. This Lucas Oil Kingaroy Speedway was established back in 1968. It's 400 metres on the pole line. Matt Payne working with us tonight. Here he is.
Thanks, David. Down in the pits here with Warren Oldfield from Western Australia, who's going to talk us through a bit of a late model. Warren, you've got 3 cars here this weekend, a massive commitment. Tell us a little bit about the cars, particularly the motor side of things.
Okay, the motors in our cars, they're a 430 cubic inch engine. They're all aluminium. They make about 800 horsepower, so that, you know, they're good engines. They're reliable engines. We get them built in the States, and yeah, they're great. So compared to a V8 supercar, they're probably making another 200 horsepower, I suppose. And you know, with a car that weighs 1,000 kilos compared to a supercar, which is, you know, a fair bit heavier, you know, power to weight ratio, they're probably the best thing there is in Australia.
Unbelievable, as many of our viewers would be familiar with V8 supercars, 5-litre motors, also a lot of aero, which you guys don't necessarily have the benefit of.
No, but, you know, the nose cones on these things do make a big difference. You bend a nose cone up and you really notice it. So we do rely on the aero on the front a fair bit, and also our wings on the rear. They do make a difference. You knock one of them off and you'll notice you'll struggle for the rest of the race.
Talk us a little bit through the chassis development, particularly what you bring out from the United States to race here.
What we've got is we've got a couple of rocket cars here. We've always ran Masters builds, which they've been really good to us. This year we made the decision to switch to rocket chassis, and they've really helped us. Our car, you know, we've been a lot faster this year, and we get a lot of help from Jeep Van Wormer in America, and you know, it's good. He runs rockets, so he can help us out a bit. So yeah, that's why we made the switch to rockets, and it seems to be paying off so far.
During the race meeting, we see a lot of action going on underneath the car with the suspension. Can you tell us a little bit about the suspension setup on the cars? Yeah,
they're a four-link rear suspension, 4-bar. We don't really change a great deal throughout the night. Once the car's closed, you may just put some more left rear bite into the car, and just mainly you're playing with shock absorbers throughout the night.
Tyre technology as well, and there's a fair bit that goes into that that you benefit from both here and the States.
Yeah, we use Hoosier tyres. There's 2 brands. Some people use American Racers. We choose the Hoosier brand. We've always used them. They're good for us. We don't really use a great deal of different compounds. There's 3 compounds to choose from, and we're sort of on the medium to hard every time we go out on the track, just to make them last, pretty much.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That gives you a bit of an insight into these fantastic late model machines here at Kingaroy at the Australian Dirt Late Model Championship.
Well, Matt, good to be working with you this year. Let's have a look now at the top 10 point scorers at the completion of night number 1. It is Steve Francis, the American, dominating, frankly, the opening night of racing at Kingaroy. Oldfield, a good job in second. Bruce McKenzie, there's a bolter, having a fantastic weekend thus far. Jamie Oldfield, Blake Van Zeeland, Granger Nicastri, Darren Kane, and Ronnie Pine, of course, a multiple national champion in V8 Super Sedans. Here's Bruce McKenzie with Matt.
Down in the pits here with Bruce McKenzie, one of the top performers from last night. Bruce, sensational effort to walk away 13 points from the first night of competition.
Yeah, it was one of the best results I've had in late models and had a great night. So I really enjoyed it.
Got the advantage this weekend of having Steve Francis here as part of the Time Target team. Tell us how much he brings to the effort.
Well, he's been using the sort of chassis that we're running, and he actually built the car I'm driving, so it brings us an enormous amount of intellectual property. And at the same time, I've got Darryl Grimson, who was Australia 2 last year, as my crew chief. So between those two guys, I've got great advice and good setup.
What are the hopes for tonight?
Look, the track looks pretty wild and rough, and it's going to be a different night altogether. Last night it was really slick. So I'm really open. I mean, I've got a heat and a dash and a feature. We'll have to see how it plays out.
No worries. Good luck with it.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, Bruce McKenzie driving very well this weekend, and he's been a really solid supporter, Rod, of late model racing. Well, really since their introduction, particularly on the East Coast, as we look at the starters involved in Heat 10, the first race on the program tonight.
Yeah, Nick Girdleston, Dave Robertson, Jamie Oldfield, Darren Kane, Ben Nicastri, Steve Francis from 6, and Ian Ducat.
Darren Kane, multiple winner of the Australian Super Sedan Championship. Only his 10th start in a late model here this weekend. He's one of the boys to beat, don't worry about that. And you can see how rough the track is. So much rain here this afternoon. They've done well to bring it back on board with Darren Kane.
Yeah, great to see Caney involved in this meeting. He'll no doubt be at the pointy end as the weekend unfolds. But, gee, look at this track. They've done a great job just to get this meeting on, Dave. That was a heavy deluge.
Be no place for the faint at heart. It's pretty rough out there. Nobody's fault. It's the legacy of so much rain. The clay becomes very soft, and it does tend to rut up badly. And then it starts to dry, and it's very difficult to get rid of the ruts.
Yeah, that was just what I was going to say. We'll probably get a situation here where the top will blow away, so to speak, because it's loose, but it will rut up, and it's going to get very hectic later.
Here's Darren Kane. Race leader at this juncture is Jamie Oldfield, the West Australian. The Oldfields a great racing dynasty in late model sedan racing. Here's the American Steve Francis in the 15 car, looking for a way by on the inside. Full credit to the West Australian. He's holding one of the world's best out, who has a crack on the inside now.
Yeah, good driving from Steve. It's getting very busy out there up front. Around 2 lap drivers, the wide line looks like the go. Certainly Francis making the high line pay.
So I guess there's about 5 car lengths separating first and second. Oldfield got away, but Francis claws his way back. The American standing hard on the gas. We take the fence cam shot. Heat race number 10 of the 2015 Late Model Nationals. Not about crowding, considering the inclement conditions. Oldfield and Francis. Francis, he appears determined to effect a pass no matter what.
Oh, an Oldfield, oh yes. They're just through on the inside. Jamie made a very small mistake, and look at Francis on the throttle. Back on board with Kane. This is very interesting too. He's coming through some heavy traffic, and as we can see, Francis just no holds barred racing from the very well respected and world famous in sedan racing terms American.
Yeah, we have a feature story on him later on today's program. So the field is spread out somewhat now. The American in car 15, Steve Francis, leading Jamie Oldfield. Ben Nicastri, I can tell you, is in third, followed by the driver in fourth spot, Darren Kane. David Robertson, meantime, in the 4 car, has looped the machine just as the checkered flag was coming out. So what they'll probably do, as we look at the replay of Robertson getting it all wrong on his own, they'll probably go back a lap and restart this and sprint to the checkered flag. Green, white checker, as they say. So
Yep.
Francis up front, then Oldfield, and the Nicastri third underway.
Yeah, unfortunate end for Robertson there. He certainly wasn't mucking around. He was stomping on it, but Francis and Oldfield still going at it here, and Oldfield got one last shot, and will he make it pay? Oh, he's not having Massive go there from Oldfield.
Yeah, Oldfield going ballistic in his quest for victory. It's cost him some time, but most importantly, money. A little bit of damage to the front of the car. And Francis getting down and dirty, got the job done. As we look at a quick replay of the barge by Oldfield. And now looking at the race results there. Francis, Oldfield, Nicastri, Kane and Ducat officially placed in 5th position. So the American continuing his outstanding form. He was dominant on night 1, more of the same.
Steve, fairly frantic first lap out there.
The racetrack's extremely rough and physical, and we've been a right front lower control arm, which got the front nose dragging the ground, and really made it hard to drive that race. It was really, you couldn't hardly lift. If you lift out of the throttle, it would set the nose down in the holes and basically try to stand the car up on its nose. So hopefully we can get a fix for the dash here. It's got a lot of damage to it.
Last couple of laps there, you had an interesting battle there with one of the Oldfields as well.
Yeah, like I say, we couldn't hardly drive the thing with the nose dragging, and when we were behind him, it kind of kept the air off, so it would lift the nose. When we got in front, the air put the nose back on the ground and really made it hard to drive out front.
Won't hold you up anymore. Get back to it.
Thank you very much.
Winners are grinners, and Steve Francis knows how to do that better than most in the world. He had a top 4 finish in the National Series in America, the Lucas Oil Series. And here's the field now for heat race number 11 tonight with Rod Calhoun.
Blair Granger, Warren Oldfield, Frank Armstrong, Matt Crimmins from South Australia, Aaron Van Zeelen, Kristen Van Zeelen and Greg Towns out of position number 7.
So we've got Armstrong up front, as it turns out, in the black car on pole. And unfortunately, not going when the lights switch to green. As a result, Blair Granger, beautifully presented Lucas Oil car, skips away to the race lead. And he'll find himself under siege soon from Warren Oldfield, who does know how to get the job done. He'll make progress, no doubt about it. We look further back in the pack at Matt Crimmins in the 10 car.
Yeah, special mention to the Oldfields too on this weekend. They're from Western Australia. Obviously, they've brought 3 cars over to contest this championship, and it's a real credit to them and their dedication to the sport.
There's our leader, Granger. He's been the mainstay of late model sedan racing in Queensland over the last decade or so. Very similar to what sort of role Bruce McKenzie has played in New South Wales. There's a gap between first and second. Granger always presents beautiful looking cars. Crimmins has moved up to third. So it's Granger, Oldfield, Crimmins, the top 3, and they are spread out like an Indian scouting party, Rod.
Yeah, they are spread out a little bit, and this track is really sorting out what lines are suitable for racing at the moment and what lines are safe to take, because this track's starting to dry out, starting to rut up, as I said earlier, and that's what's going to come into play very soon.
So here's the battle for the lead with Warren Oldfield coming quickly.
Yeah, Oldfield up, not quite onto the back of Granger. Geez, as you said, that car of Granger's is absolutely beautiful. Be ashamed to bend it, but he's going to have to put the throttle down because Oldfield is gaining and gaining reasonably rapidly. Blair puts the, that's Blair Granger, I should say, really puts the throttle down. Look out, it's getting very heavy through there. That's the part that's causing everyone the concern just as they come up to the start-finish line.
Action continues. Matt Crimmins can now sight them. The 2 up front, not that far away. The Crimmins car looked like it was not handling well with a big push. Oldfield thought about an inside move there on Granger. You can see how troublesome the track is. I highlighted it during the call of the previous event. The clay becomes so soft, almost like Play-Doh, with the deluge of rain, and the ruts and grooves are inevitable. Granger under siege from Oldfield. Crimmins coming at the 2 of them on the last racing lap at the Kingaroy Showground.
Yeah, it will be Granger. He'll take the win. He'll be pretty happy with that. Blair, he drove fairly smart, stayed away from the wall, got the job done, picked up the points, and every point counts in this format. But Oldfield and Crimmins also look pretty quick.
So we'll recap the results with Granger getting the job done in advance of Warren Oldfield. Crimmins was next, then Frank Armstrong. Armstrong starting on pole position but couldn't go on with it, and Aaron Van Zeelen was next.
Thanks, David. Just down in the pits here with our second race winner of the night, Blair Granger. Blair, sensational drive out there, tough conditions.
Yeah, tough is right. Mate, it felt like I was on a bull in one of those pubs, you know, where you pay $2 and see how long you can hold on. Man, I hope they do something. I mean, the Kingaroy staff here do a great job with the track, but, man, I don't know that my car will last 40 off there, and if it does, I don't know whether I will, so...
Good to get a win in front of the home crowd anyway.
Yeah, look, we needed the points. We had some issues last night. I think we were about 7th coming into tonight on points, so those points help. Now, fingers crossed, we can do something with the car to get the handle of this track, and fingers crossed with the dash, I guess.
Good luck with it.
Cheers.
On Fox Sports, this is Chequered Flag, proudly presented by the 2015 Australian FIM Speedway Grand Prix. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.
Kentucky's Steve Francis is one of the biggest names in world late model racing. The American superstar has won nearly every major event on the planet, including 2 Australian championships. Winning number 3 is very much on his radar.
It'd mean a lot, you know, especially with everything that Bruce McKenzie and Scott and all the guys have done, you know, to make this happen over here. It's a pretty big undertaking. So, you know, it means a whole lot to them guys. And, you know, when I come to race, I come to try to win every race we run in. So, you know, that's the ultimate goal.
Francis says he's indebted to the efforts of team owner Sydney's Bruce McKenzie, who has gone above and beyond.
We've had a little time to get everything a little more organized this year. You know, he had a spare car even up here this year. We had some problems last year, so he was able to organize a spare car and have it sitting here ready for us to race if we needed. He really put a lot of time and effort into this thing, and you know, he's had a lot of success himself this trip. I think he's 3rd overall in points right now, so you know, hopefully that both cars can have good nights tonight and maybe finish 1st and 2nd in this thing.
Francis has contested many tour of duties down under, all of which have netted great success. He's impressed with the talent that many Australian drivers possess.
There's some guys over here that are really good for as new as the division is. You know, really, you know, they went from the Grand Nationals, in the late 80s to the super sedan type cars. And, you know, these cars were really gone from Australia for 20 years. So, you know, they've just recently made their comeback in the last 10 or 11 years from 8 or 10 guys in West Australia that wanted to start racing them to now they're pretty much countrywide. You know, there's late model classes in Queensland and Victoria, South Australia. West Australia is really, really tough, obviously, with, you know, the guys that are here from the West Coast.
Francis embarks on his Australian season, having enjoyed a strong campaign in the United States that saw him finish 4th overall in the Sports Elite National Series.
It was a good year. It wasn't what we really wanted. We didn't win like we wanted to or should have, but you know, we drive for Clint Boyer, the NASCAR racer over there, and Georgia Boot. And, you know, Clint gives us everything we need. Clint and Georgia Boot both give us everything we need to go racing over there. You know, it's all top-notch equipment. You know, my teammate Donald Neal won the championship, and I finished 4th. So all in all, a good year for Boyer Dirt.
And how do you find racing for Clint Boyer?
It's entertaining. You know, the Clint that you see on TV, the carefree, kind of crazy guy, that's the true Clint Boyer. He doesn't. It's not a show. It's not anything like that. That's the true Clint. He is actually very involved in the race teams and what's going on with it. But he's also a racer, and he understands the ups and downs that go along with racing. And, you know, the kind of, you're a hero tonight and a zero tomorrow night. He understands all that. And, you know, when you've had a couple of bad nights in a row, you know, he's the guy to call you and kind of be the cheerleader. Hey, you know, I've been through this. We've all done this. You know, we know what's happening. You know, don't worry about it. We'll get it.
Francis recently received a massive honour when he was inducted into the Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame.
Really, I didn't give it a tremendous amount of thought. I mean, when they told me I was going to be inducted in, you know, it was like, man, that's a cool honor. You know, that's really nice. And then when I went up there, I kind of walked through the Hall of Fame before the induction ceremony, and seeing, you know, the Larry Moores and the Red Farmers and, you know, all the Jeff Purvises, you know, the Charlie Swartz, you know, the old school racers that kind of paved the way for us to make a living racing in the States. And to be included with that list of names is really a neat deal. And my brother, who passed away in 2001, he's in there as a contributor to the sport. So it was really neat that him and I are both in the Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame.
As a full-time professional, racing to put food on the table, Francis says he's satisfied the sport in his native America is on the right track.
Right now it's really strong. You know, we went through a little bit of I don't want to say a lull, but a little bit of when our economy kind of went haywire, it kind of just stayed status quo for a few years there. And in the last 2 or 3 years, we've started to notice an upturn in crowds and things like that. Maybe not those 200 car counts like we used to have at the World 100, but of those 125 or 35 that show up now instead of the 200, 80 of them can win the race, are capable of winning the race. So maybe the number's not as big, but the level of competition and quality of cars has improved greatly.
That is a very good insight into American late model racing. And of course, Francis has done his bit, Rod, to develop the sport here in Australia. He tours here regularly.
Absolutely. Obviously a very nice guy. Fits in very well with the Aussies and a welcome visitor here anytime. The grid for this one: Michael Jenner, Matt Ingray, Stevie Vaughan, Jason Oldfield, Ronnie Pine, Brad Blake and the man Bruce McKenzie.
Steve Vaughan had to just about rebuild his car overnight. Major problems in night number 1. Jenner in the yellow car on pole, right-hand side of screen. It's blast off in the heat number 12 of the 2015 National Championship for late models. As we look further back in the field, there's no shortage of action in the 55 car. Jason Oldfield is surging towards the front. Now we ride on board with the defending champion, Brad Blake.
Yeah, now this track is starting to break up quite badly just along here down the back straightaway, or it's not so much a straight, more of an arc. I think we're going to see some action. You can see it there just about mid-turn. It's very, very heavy. No criticism of the curators. They're really battling the odds here.
Yeah, that was Ron Pine that got into trouble. The number 9 car. Dominant force in super sedan racing for a number of years. Winning multiple Australian championships. Loves the late model cars. Brad Blake from Bunbury in Western Australia. The man known simply as the O-Show. Car Zero. He's got a bit of work to do here at the moment. Jenner is the race leader, under siege now from Jason Oldfield.
Yeah, you mentioned the track in the previous heat, Dave, and what happens with the clay as opposed to dirt is when dirt forms a lump and a car hits it, it just snaps the lump off and the lump brushes away. With clay, it just flexes and makes it bigger and bigger and bigger. Basically, the jumps and bumps expand as opposed to get smaller.
Oldfield has taken the lead, relegating the yellow 6 car back to second. Brad Blake is third. You can see it's almost impossible for these guys to put a smooth racing lap together. They're literally having the steering wheel snapped out of their grasp.
Yeah, well, it's the elasticized nature of the surface that gives it its grip. Unfortunately, when it's too wet, it's the elasticized nature of it that gives it its flex and able to adjust. It really just forms massive humps. It can be dangerous at times, and you can see this down the back straight. It's really, really rough. Just hope the drivers can stay away from the wall.
Brad Blake has moved up into second after starting from position number 6. Has been the dominant force in this sport. Well, certainly at national title level anyway, over the last 10 years. He's also won national crowns in other disciplines of speedway, so he's been a great competitor. Retired from racing, made a comeback, and of course won this title last year at Borderline Speedway in Mount Gambier. You saw it here on Chequered Flag. Oldfield in front.
Yeah, and he's the thing I like about Brad too, he's a real no-bones operator as far as not his budget. Doesn't have much to say, just gets on with it.
So race result going the way of Jason Oldfield. Brad Blake was next, then Michael Jenner, Matt Ingray and Ron Pine officially placed 5th.
Jason, it's a pretty wild old ride out there.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. It's probably the hardest I've had to work for a heat win, but it's going to be interesting. It's juiced up quite a bit. I think everyone's tightened their cars up from last night. Now it's time to free them off a little bit, but I think it'll be okay. We're just got to get used to it and keep on track with what we're doing, and hopefully we can survive. So see how it is.
Had an up and down night last night, but it's looking good so far tonight.
Yeah, we started off really good last night. Second in time trials, and you got off to a good start in the first heat. Second heat, we broke a tail shaft, missed the third heat because of that, and stripped some diff gears, which is the first for us to ever do that. So we fixed that and got in a bit of a bingle in the final. So the bad stuff's out of our way now, so hopefully we can move on forward from here.
Good luck with it.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.
Okay, now time on the program for the first dash. This is the A dash, and this will determine the starting positions in tonight's main event, the championship finale. The top 8 positions, and Steve Francis will take a power of stopping here. He'll start on pole rod.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Steve Francis alongside Warren Oldfield, who's been very good so far. Jamie Oldfield, Brad Blake, Bruce McKenzie, Blair Granger, Aaron Van Zeeland's done very well so far, and Ben Nicastri. Track's been groomed, looks all right.
Underway now. The American goes straight to the front. The Oldfields, Warren and Jamie battling away next, followed by Brad Blake. Ben Nicastri going through the 6 car of Bruce McKenzie. Has managed to get himself, well, bobbed is probably the best word. He spins, and up on that windrow that has been placed on the inside of the pole line as a part of trying to bring the track back in. If you just joined our coverage, over 150 millimetres of rain here this afternoon. Night 2 of the championship was in heavy doubt, but they've done everything they can to get the show on. A track that's less than perfect, but the meeting's continuing, and I guess that's the most important thing. We're riding with Brad Blake.
Yeah, Blake in 4th. It's the 2 Oldfield brothers in 2nd and 3rd as Steve Francis, the American, charges off into the distance. Just have a look at the 2 brothers here. Absolutely on fire. This track grooming is working a treat. Now we've got some racing on our hands.
Yeah, Warren Oldfield being attacked by Jamie Oldfield. In fact, Jamie has done better than attack. He's gone through and gained the ascendancy. And now here's Brad Blake starting to apply the pressure too to Warren Oldfield. Steve Francis is gone. He's checked out. See you later, fellas. Leading by a quarter of a lap, Rod.
Yeah, the 3 West Australians in 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Francis gone. And Bruce McKenzie still in 5th. Not a bad drive from Bruce so far.
Again on board with Brad Blake. The onboard picture brought to you by the FIM Australian Speedway Grand Prix, Etihad Stadium, October 24, 2015. Francis continues to lead. Out after him is Jamie Oldfield. You can just see the lead that Francis has built up. He's going to potentially lap a slower car here. Aaron Van Zeeland.
Yeah, Francis approaching at a very rapid rate of knots. Down across the back here is where it's been cutting up. Oh, he's touched the fence, Francis, and rides it.
Does he ever? Now that is a real problem for him.
He's kept going. That's unbelievable.
It certainly is.
And still leads.
How does that work? He's slowing appreciably. You'd have to think he's damaged the steering. Among other things, he looks very untidy. Across the start-finish line on the last lap, and he takes the win. Wow. That is a miracle.
That'll do, mate.
How do you do that?
And he barely slowed.
Wow. Oldfield, Jamie, that is, was 2nd. Warren was 3rd. Then Brad Blake and Blair Granger getting up to 5th position in the A-Dash.
As you can see down here, working overtime on the Steve Francis car after that scary moment. We'll try and catch a quick word with Steve himself. Steve, scary moment out there, but you were still able to come away with the win.
Yeah, the lower A-frame just broke in 2. We bent one earlier and then just broke that one in 2 coming off the corner. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to come back off the fence. So I guess we got kind of lucky there. It could have been way worse than it actually was. But I don't know. We'll go see what happens for the race now.
Good luck with it, mate.
So Steve Francis, by virtue of winning that A-Dash, albeit in miraculous circumstances, puts the 15 car on pole for tonight's Australian Championship. He must be at short odds on to win his 3rd national crown. Now the B-Dash, this will determine the grid positions from 9 through to 16.
Yeah, Darren Kane, Jason Oldfield, Matt Crimmins, Ron Pine, Matt Ingray, Frank Armstrong, Michael Jenner and Ian Ducat.
Kane, what a driver. Great competitor. Now a foray into late models, not just for Darren, but his team owner Ian Botcher and the Dominator chassis. Crimmins aggressive, trying to get up on the inside in 2nd position as we go racing. Now we're on board with Reverend Ronnie Pine in the number 9 car, running a lot better tonight He had major dramas on night one. They worked till 4 a.m. this morning to discover that a shock absorber was broken, and that was part of the reason they had such a terrible night here last night.
Yeah, they're critical in these cars at any time, particularly when the track's cutting up and rough. So I'm glad Ron got that sorted before we've come into these conditions today. But absolutely on fire here is Jason Oldfield.
Darren Kane, the leader. About 15 car lengths.
Yeah, Darren's on fire. Darren's got a very loyal and knowledgeable crew chief in Brenton Knight. Brenton's been very good around Darren's car for a long time.
Yeah, one of many. They've got a very solid team, as you say. Well resourced, it goes without saying. Ingrid in the 17 machine. You can see there's a bit of a cushion developing on that part of the circuit. They'll be chasing it hard. The Botcher Dominator. Shazzy Entry, a very comfortable race leader on lap 6 of 8. Kane looking very fit. Looks like he's shed a few kilos since we saw him on Chequered Flag previously. It's not hurting him. Car's on rails.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. He's running very nicely now. He's obviously can finish no higher than 9th on the grid for our final, so he's going to have to do it the hard way, but never rule this man out in any sedan race.
Exactly right. He sees the white flag. There's 1 lap to go. No change in the order. Jason Oldfield is still second. Ingray is third in the 17 car. And a little bit of dodge of cars here. One of the cars heading infield 35, that's Frank Armstrong. Chequered Flag, meanwhile, has been shown to Darren Kane, so he wins the B-Dash. And he'll start from P9 in the main event. Here's the speedway.com.au. Replay of Armstrong doing his best to impersonate motocross.
Yeah, Frank unceremoniously dumped on the infield there, but kept going. Darren Kane, Jason Oldfield, Matt Ingray, Matt Crimmins and Ron Pine. Down to Matt with our race winner, Darren Kane.
Darren did it fairly comfortably out there.
Yeah, about 5 laps into it, the right rear filled up full of mud. So I had to slow right down. I was shaking that bad, and I thought to myself, like, I just sort of cruised the last 5 laps. But yeah, it filled half the wheel up full of mud and shook the whole roof. And yeah, so the car's going really good now. We got onto a deal for the feature, and I think it'll be good.
So you will start at a position 9. What are your hopes for the feature?
I think we've got enough speed. It's just that we've been struggling in our heats with setup, and I think now that we've got sort of like a happy medium setup, I think I can work my way through.
Dominated the Australian-built chassis, of course, well known in super sedan circles, not so in late model circles, but things seem to be coming along nicely in that area. Yeah,
no, the car's been going really good for as long as we've had it, and it's just that we've struggled in the heats over this weekend through bad choices and bad driving, so hopefully I can get together in the feature.
Local hope here, Darren Kane getting ready for the A-Main coming up shortly. Jamie, quick chat with Steve Francis after the race. I don't think you're exchanging Christmas cards.
Oh, no, there's no problems with me and Steve. That's fine. You know, I got in there, he got a bit bent, and I got in there and thought I had a run, but when he's just come back down a bit and I didn't lift, and yeah, we just come together, nothing in it, that's fine.
Pretty exciting action out there all throughout that race.
Yeah, the track's, obviously it's had a lot of rain, it's real fast at the moment, so it's pretty much hammer down and you just got to hang on for the ride a little bit, but hopefully it'll slow down a little later and we can, you know, widen the track out and run a bit to the top and we'll be right.
Thanks, Dave. Just down here with Reverend Ron Pine. Ronnie, fair bit of work going on down here this weekend.
There had to be, mate, after last night. I've been spending a lot of time with the video in the truck and Clayton on FaceTime, him watching the video and changing setups, but we've got it right now. The car's a different car tonight.
So Clayton, who's your son, obviously who races this car every now and then, he's based in Sydney, but setting up the car from there.
Yes, he is, and what we do is we video the footage in the truck on the big screen, and he rings on FaceTime, hold the phone up, he watches the whole race, and goes from there.
and so you seem to think that you have got a bit of pace coming on for the final later on.
Oh yes, no, the car's a different car. The car's got the pace. I'm a bit old for it now, but the exercise was to come up and make some numbers up. But we had a lot of trouble last night. We found a lot of stuff wrong with it. 2 o'clock this morning, or actually 4 o'clock this morning, I was still working on it. So, but I'm happy I did. The car's a different car, and hey, I'm not here to make the numbers up, but I'll certainly have a go. I'm still pretty competitive.
You're watching the one and only Chequered Flag on Fox Sports, celebrating 20 years. Presented by the 2015 Australian FIM Speedway Grand Prix. Etihad Stadium, Melbourne, October 24. Book now. Introducing a Chequered Flag golden moment.
Sitting in third place. He's coming under the pump now from Deacondillo Steel City car of Ben Ludlow. Look at Grimson, he's slowed right down. Oh, there's Halliday, he's gone. What a shame for him. He was looking really good at one stage.
Yeah, great pity. Race leader is Brad Blake. He's looking for national championship victory. Number 3, Grimson in car. Number 12 is second. That's him in the black car, middle of the racetrack. He's being assaulted by Warren Oldfield in car number 15. I know I've been saying it frequently throughout the call, but what a job Daryl Grimson has done here. The Sydney driver to come across and mix it with the country's best late model drivers. It's a big performance.
Absolutely, as we cross down, we're in the final stage of the race now. Oh no, what's happened to Grimson? He's dropped back behind Ludlow. The pace is slowed to a crawl at the moment here at the Perth Motorplex.
These drivers are completely out of tyre rubber. Blake the leader, car number 15, Warren Oldfield. He's going along okay, obviously chose a rock hard compound tyre. Brad Blake is on his last lap in the QFS Australia Late Model Nationals. It has been some performance from a man that many regard as head and shoulders above the others in late model racing, and how can you argue? This is his 3rd Australian Championship, and there's the victory and the checkered flag. The crowd on the main straight delighted about that. Brad Blake, what a competitor. The golden moment for this week, back to 2007 at the Perth Motorplex. Now we turn our attention to the big one. It's the Australian Championship final. And Rod Colhoun with the grid positions.
Steve Francis, Jamie Oldfield, Warren Oldfield, Brad Blake out of 4. Then we're down to Blair Granger, Ben Nicastri, Bruce McKenzie, Aaron Van Zeelen, Darren Kane, Jason Oldfield, Matt Ingray, then Crimmins, Pine, Jenna Vaughan, Ducat, Robertson, Nick Girdleston, Van Zeelen, Townsend, Frank Armstrong rounds out the 21-car strong field.
So the 40-lap championship finale, who will it be in 2015? You'd want to have your house on the American on pole, you would think. Away on his outside, it was Jamie Oldfield, who couldn't go with the driver from Kentucky in the USA. It's fairly hostile by nature during the early proceedings here, or early stages of proceedings, and we ride with Ronnie Pine briefly.
Yeah, the thing with a showground venue, particularly one that's so round, is you can lose your place in the freight train, hit one of these ruts and run wide. You can't get back to the low line. That's going to be critical, but Francis opens up a lead early. The 2 Oldfields trying to keep him honest, but gee, it's running up already. This is going to get very hectic, I think, as the laps progress. 40 laps of constant racing. This is going to end up like a motocross track through no fault of their own, just the weather.
Yeah, it's no fault of anyone's, is it? No. It's just the way it is. It's a legacy of precipitation. We've talked about it ad nauseum on the show. We've got our first stoppage here tonight in the main event. And the race is taking its toll on competitors already. Here's Matt.
Blair Granger, first retirement from the Aussie title. What happened out there, mate?
Feels like a right rare shock. Just the car went into a hole, never recovered from it. We're running okay, but I really didn't want to be trying to nurse the car home and ruin anybody else's chances.
All right, appreciate Blair spending time with us as we get set for the race restart. There's still a stack of laps to go in our coverage night 2 of the Australian Late Model Sedan Championship from Kingaroy. And the man they've all got to catch is the American out in front, car 15.
Yeah, the Oldfield boys, again, trying to keep him honest. And Darren Kane looks to be the quickest driver on track apart from Francis. He's moved up from position 9 to position 4 over the first 5 laps. So clearly this track not causing too much trouble for Kane just at the moment.
Jamie Oldfield is coming at Steve Francis. He's up high on the circuit. He might try the classic cutback as he follows the American. The American negotiating slower traffic. Here's Oldfield, got a great run off that turn and passes 2 cars at once. Miracle piece of driving. Such a talent. And says to the American, catch me if you can.
And wasn't there some commitment from Oldfield there, inside a lap runner and our race leader at once. Gee, and once he made the decision to put the foot down, there was no turning back. I like what he's doing here. He's going around the bumps, and the bumps will come to all parts of the track once they can start driving on it. But for 4 or 5 laps, he'll get a smooth run. See if he can break away from the American and put some pressure on him.
Tell you what, physically demanding racing, one of these cars out there tonight. The track is a nightmare. So the race order now, it is Jamie Oldfield, the American Steve Francis, then Warren Oldfield, and Darren Kane is next. And there's a wall of slower cars just ahead of our race leader. This could separate the men from the boys.
Absolutely. It's going to be a race of attrition. These cars are built to sustain or to undertake some heavy bumping, but gee, this is extremely rough surface and there's going to be some broken shocks, etc. as this race progresses. Let's hope it doesn't happen to our front runners as Oldfield and Francis go at it hammer and tong.
They're like 800 horsepower pogo sticks tonight. They're bouncing around that much. Ronnie Byrne grabbing left and right, handfuls of opposite lock. And a wonderful driver. It's been a stellar career by Reverend Ronnie, and he's one of the great characters in the sport too.
He is. He's a funny guy, a good fella. As Oldfield almost brushes that wall down the back corner. Gee, he looks quick, and Francis now almost up onto the back of him as they go past. Looks like Dave Robertson there. Robbo's getting around all right too, but he's going to put down a lap here by our leader, Jamie Oldfield from Western Australia, and Francis also goes around. Darren Kane almost in the slipstream of Francis.
Kane now up to third. He's been able to overtake Warren Oldfield. Gee, there's no shortage of traffic congestion out there at the moment. Oldfield is brilliant. Through heavy traffic, his reflex is superb on a track that is as testing as it can possibly get in this sport.
Yeah, I think even Francis would agree with you, Dave. He's driven professionally for many, many years. Rarely would he have seen a track as rough as this tonight.
Gone back to the front, the American, as you saw. Now Oldfield has another crack in the slower traffic. Ronnie Pine, his car is falling apart. The rear end on both sides, or the side panels, rear quarter panels, have been punctured somewhat. He looks pretty wounded out there, Evan Ronnie. We're right on board with him again. It can't be easy.
No, it can't be easy. The chassis on these things will be flexing like they've never flexed before, and popping rivets on that thin bodywork will be just a minor problem for these guys. As Kane looks to go up the inside. Oh, Kane gets hooked up as he goes past. Manages to get through eventually, but that didn't help his cause.
He's out after Steve Francis. Jamie Oldfield, race leader, 51. Oh, the American has obviously broken his steering. Straight in. Another look, he didn't turn.
No, he did initially, but the car just straightened up and he was a passenger.
Well, that is a sensation in the Australian Championship. One of the major contenders gone. Blake's in trouble too.
Steve, hard luck, mate. It was a fairly epic race out there.
Yeah, I was just kind of riding around there behind him, letting him set a pace, and we could pretty much go when you wanted, but it's just so damn rough that, anytime you hit something the wrong angle or anything, we've been another lower control arm. That's 3 tonight. Just kind of wasn't our night. I still think we had probably the fastest car. We were just kind of trying to bide our time and try to make sure we could finish 40 laps, and still didn't get to.
Yeah, less than happy. You can understand, but on a track like this, that sort of damage is going to be inevitable. It is brutal out there.
Yeah, less than happy, but still very professional. Steve Francis has done little to tarnish his reputation. He's just a true professional. As Kane, Darren Kane has been the man in waiting here. Oldfield's been tearing up every line on the track, setting a new path for these guys around the outside, and Darren Kane's been sitting there waiting. Is this his opportunity?
So it's Jamie Oldfield, the leader, Kane, and then the other Oldfield. I refer to Warren in this case. So Kane is very much in the Oldfield sandwich, isn't he? That's the third place car you're looking at. You're watching coverage of the 2015 Australian Late Model Sedan Championship from Kingaroy Speedway, Lucas Oil Kingaroy Speedway. Darren Kane, the master at work, trying to negotiate the ruts, as are all of the other runners.
Yes, the ultimate test for every component on these cars. And so far, so good for
Brad Blake on screen. The O-Show still out there circulating. He's in fourth position at the moment, but a long way back. Here's Kane. He got a great run off that turn, didn't he?
Yeah, just see the drive he picked up on the inside. His car looks very well set up, considering the conditions. And there'll be plenty of crew chiefs hanging over the fence, just hoping for the best in terms of their car and the driver surviving as he goes up into the lead now. Kane, the Queenslander, looking for a local victory.
Yeah, so Kane, the race leader. Gee, some traffic out there again. Passing him on the outside is Jamie Oldfield again. One thing about Jamie, we know it is never say die. They jump through the ruts. Gee, the suspension, not to mention the upper torso, particularly on the drivers. It would be such hard work out there hanging on.
Yeah, one thing we haven't really considered, Dave, is for Jamie and Warren and their home track being Kwinana. The well-groomed, broad, wide banked, beautifully prepared, and even in rain it just gets slippery, probably not as rough as this, so certainly a learning curve. And look at the two Oldfields and Kane glued together.
So Kane's been bumped back to third now as Warren Oldfield in 15 moves up. Kane super aggressive. So Warren's having a crack now at Jamie Oldfield. Darren Kane might go right around the outside of both of them. That could be his plan. Has a go now. Let's see what sort of drive he gets off that turn. Meantime, we cut back to Brad Blake, and Blake comes in contact with another car. You saw it happen as we rode on board with him, and the defending champion is in a world of hurt. Up against the wall, as you can see.
Brad, just quickly, the steering wheel's off, not the way you wanted to end your title defence.
Nah, and once I got caught up with the lap cars over there, I did damage and was pushing. I was trying to stay out of the holes, and I just f***ed up.
Well, not mincing words, we understand his disappointment. His title charge over for 2015. Jamie Oldfield heads for home. 11 laps remaining at the race restart. Darren Kane in second. Ben Nicastri is now third.
Yeah,
Kane straight away. Sorry,
yeah,
Rod.
you're right. I'm just really interested in Kane's strategy here. He tends to be making sharp turns and then really long straight lines and a short turn and straight lines. Most drivers are going round in a showground style, just turning. Kane's driving differently. You see him straighten up and accelerate. It's really working for him. Very clever.
Kane went from the inside to the out there and didn't mean to. Great shot of the Dominator late model sedan hurtling around the 400-metre Kingaroy venue. This race not over yet, as our highlights package of the late model championship of 2015 now continues. And no change in the order. Up front, it is still Jamie Oldfield in advance of Darren Kane. Ben Nicastri is third from Sydney. In the 99 car, Oldfield is forced to go to the outside of Nick Girdleston in the 7 car, and that has cost Kane some time.
It has. Oldfield's opened up what, not a comfortable margin, but certainly something that he'll be happy with at the moment. Probably 5 or 6 car lengths over Darren Kane, the charging Queenslander.
The thing about Kane is, well, he's like all champions. He's very patient. He backs himself. He won't get flustered. He'll just keep grinding away.
No, he's won some races in over the last decade and a half. There's no doubt about that, and there's plenty more to come. I'll tell you what, Oldfield's done a great job tonight. You'd almost feel sorry for him if he lost this race. He's driven so well, and look at Kane, as I say that, right up on the back of him.
Ronnie Pine heading infield in the 9 car, back up front. Oldfield under siege from Kane. Kane skipping over the ruts. I thought he was going to go back to the front. Like, full credit to these guys up front. They're putting on a wonderful show on a very difficult track.
Very difficult track, and lap traffic too. Lap traffic is hard to get past on smooth surface, let alone today. As Oldfield leads, the laps are winding down. Can he hold on, the West Aussie, and take the trophy home?
We've got ballerinas here trying to perform on a corrugated iron roof.
Exactly, that's what it's like.
Oldfield. Here's Kane right behind him. Just a few laps to go in the National Championship for 2015. Kane already a multi-winner of the National Super Sedan title. And Robertson here in the 4 car might cause some grief for Oldfield. Here's Kane on the outside now. They're side by side, but Oldfield, hasn't he got some fight in him?
Oh, he's relentless, Oldfield, and gee, look at that commitment as he goes under Girdleston with some gusto. Oldfield still leads. Oh, it's a cracking race considering the conditions. It really is. Oh, Kane has gone straight under Oldfield.
How good is he? Kane making it look effortless. Oldfield, what has he got left for him? It's the last lap, the white flag out now. Oldfield, he'll probably have a brain snap.
Oh, you've got a feel for the guy. He's led this race for so long, but Darren Kane's so smart behind the wheel of that 36.
Darren Kane, oh, Oldfield's hit the wall 100 metres from home. Kane is the Australian champion in late models now. Oldfield hitting the wall. He's still got second, though. What a bizarre race. Ben de Castry third. Let's have a look at the results. Kane, Oldfield, de Castry. Robertson was next, followed by Matt Crimmins. A solid drive by those in 4th and 5th. But it was the absolute Darren Kane and Jamie Oldfield show. What about Kane?
Well, I think I said it all in the call. That is unbelievable. He was very, very clever working his way around those bumps.
Here's the race recap for speedway.com.au. Early stages of the race when both Oldfields were running. Steve Francis, the American, he was passed by Oldfield. And Oldfield was to stay there for quite some time until Kane took the lead before he took it back again. But Steve Francis was the pace setter until he lost his steering and came into contact with the wall, ending his run.
Yeah, well, this race was going to always end in heartbreak. Unfortunately for the Oldfield, and we see Francis there hitting the wall. That was a real shame for the likeable American. It ended in heartbreak for Oldfield and Francis as Kane just bided his time. As you said, Dave, the champions wait and wait and wait. And he pounced, I mean, with, what, 15 seconds of the race to go.
Just as you describe it, we see the replay of that. And the Dominator race car takes victory in the national title.
Ben de Castry, first time on the podium for you, an awesome effort out there.
Yeah, what can I say? It's first time on the podium, and yeah, I couldn't be happier. To finish behind them two guys is just awesome.
Jamie, what can you say? One of the most intense races I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, not much I can say at the moment, but look, I'm happy that we're up there and we did the hard work to get to the front, and we had a car to beat for obviously for a fair while, and I got beaten by a better driver on the night, obviously, and to be beaten by Darren, you know, well, without a doubt, he's the best sedan driver in the country going around at the moment, so I could be as happy as I can be, I suppose.
Darren, you're the new Australian late model champion. What an incredible race.
Yeah, no, it was good fun, mate. The guys worked their butt out. We had a terrible car all weekend, but got it right for both the features, and just thanks very much to Ian Botcher for giving me the drive, and now to win a Super Sedan title and a late model title was fantastic, and just Kingaroy Speedway and just everybody, it's my crew, fantastic job.
Well done to Darren Kane. He is one of the sport's all-time greats in sedan racing. Next week on Chequered Flag, it's the Speed Car Pro Series Grand Finale from the Premier Speedway at Warrnambool. 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Thanks for working with us, Rod.
That was great, Dave. Really exciting.
Thanks for being with us on Chequered Flag. Well done, Darren Kane, the 2015 Late Model National Champion.